So we all know about that thick, heavy thing that Guts carries around with him. And no, I'm not talking about what's between his legs, but the heap of raw iron known as the Dragon Slayer. But what about the other major weapon that he has had in his original arsenal since the beginning of the manga? That ace in the hole that without having would have cost him his life on several occasions. Yes, today we are going to be talking about arguably the coolest prosthetic arm in manga and anime, and why we're very fortunate that Guts is right-handed. Before we get started though, I know you've been here before, struggler, and instead of trying to avoid your fate, you should accept that you are within the interstice now of real-life Ryan content, and you must live with this burden and subscribe. The good news is, if you subscribe, you may have a chance to survive the coming onslaught. If not, well, the choice is yours after all. Also, I want to throw a big shout out to one of my Patreon supporters. I would highly recommend that you go check out his website, nosleepclub.net. This guy is a super talented dude and he offers services for all sorts of your media needs. He does video editing, graphic design, photography, music production, just a whole bunch of variety. I know it's hard for people to get started in their art, and it's definitely super helpful if you have somebody that can make your product and portfolio look even that much better and give you that nice little head start. There's also a bunch of examples on here of past projects and a bunch of amazing photography and music videos with ties to recording studios. There's a bunch of stuff on here just to check out even if you're interested in just other artwork or photography or anything like that. Here's just a small snippet of some of his work. I'm going to play a little bit of a trailer for you. Anyways, go show him some love, show him some support. I think it would be a great way to help get your start at the very least, and you can just go on there and enjoy what's already been made. Once again, it's nosleepclub.net. The link will be in the description below. Check it out, let him know what you think. Also, if you would like a shout out in a video of your art, your music, or whatever else, consider joining my Patreon down below. The link is also in the description. So when we are talking about Guts' arsenal in his battle against the Apostles, we cannot ignore the impact that the arm cannon has had and the amount of times that it's been useful for him, sometimes more so than the Dragon Slayer itself. So we all know the story of the Eclipse, during which Guts was pushed to the point where he was willing to sever his own arm in order to escape the grasp of an Apostle and attempt to save Casca. Well, that didn't exactly go as planned, and as a result, Guts was left without a left arm from below the elbow down. Obviously, this would be what you would consider a career-ending moment for a swordsman, especially when your signature is to wield a sword that is several times bigger than what a normal man would wield. And once again, Guts is pretty used to that, if you know what I'm saying. But as luck would have it, Rickert received some solid training from the blacksmith Godo, a man that spent his entire life perfecting his craft, and this knowledge handed down along with Rickert's own innovative style allowed him to come up with the idea for a prosthetic arm with a hidden cannon mechanism. So yeah, canonically, the first appearance of the arm is in chapter 93 of the manga called Armament, which is during the epilogue of the Golden Age arc, though we see it in the manga for the first time in the very first initial prologue chapter. As Guts dons his black swordsman armor for the first time and prepares for his pursuit of vengeance against the Apostles and the God Hand, Rickert brings the new arm attachment to him. The arm attaches by strapping to his upper left arm with a spring-like function allowing it to bend at the elbow. There's a misconception that Guts is able to use the arm like a real arm, meaning he's able to bend and move any part of it below the elbow, but the truth is he cannot. It's just made of metal, wood, and whatever other materials. The fingers of the false hand are made to bend like real fingers, but they can only be used to grip something that is also made of metal, because there is a magnetic component built into the hand, and this is what allows Guts to hold onto a sword with that hand. All he has to do is place the hilt within the palm, and the mechanism wraps the fingers around it to grip it just like a real hand would. And since Guts primarily uses the Dragon Slayer with two hands in order to have better mobility with it, it's very, very rare that we ever see him hold it with just the prosthetic arm. A moment to mention is in chapter 287 called Bubbles of Futility. In this chapter, Casca is about to fall off the boat and Guts instinctively reaches out his left hand to grab her, but he cannot move the fingers independently and she slips through his grasp, falling into the water. It was a devastating moment for a few reasons, but also for the reason that Guts wasn't even thinking about the fact that he couldn't grab her like he normally would, further reinforcing that the consequences of the eclipse are here forever, no matter how much better things could possibly get. And as he states in that chapter, even if you try to force back what was lost, it won't be the same. But let's talk about the major functions of the arm, and this comes with the cannon firing ability built within. So the outside of the arm is made to just look like a metal prosthetic arm, but it hides the inside mechanisms which allow cannon fire. It works similarly how a cannon would, and there were actually weapons sorta kinda like this, simply called hand cannons, which some consider to basically be the first style of handguns and has some Chinese origins. But anyways, it works exactly like a miniature cannon. You have to load the barrel with whatever projectile, and I think it would just be like rocks or wood or whatever at the time, and they would use a match to ignite it through the back of the cannon, igniting the gunpowder to create the explosion, which then fires the projectile. With Guts' arm cannon, it works in a similar way, but with a few adjustments. So Guts would obviously need to load the cannon beforehand, cleaning out the cannon, adding the gunpowder, and then loading the projectile. In fact, on the cover of Volume 2 of the manga, you actually see him doing this. There's hinges that pop up, and he's able to load at least probably the gunpowder from the back. To fire it, Guts has a string or rope hanging from the back of the arm as well. By pulling it, two things happen. One is that the hand of the arm shifts down, revealing the opening of the cannon. As well, there must be some kind of match or friction happening at the same time in order to ignite the gunpowder. Since he doesn't need to apply fire from the outside in any way, I assume it's some sort of sliding match mechanism that's inside. But anyway, once it's done, it's all over for whomever is in front of him. The cannon blast is released and has been shown to be able to blast its way right through an apostle's face. Guts has also used the cannon blast not just for attack, but even to propel him to move faster, adding a stronger swing to the Dragon Slayer, or even being able to hit two opponents at once in different directions. The only downside to the cannon really is that it's a trump card. It works best if his enemies do not know that he has it, and as a sneak attack. As well, he only gets one shot to use it, as he would need to reload the weapon after its use. So it's one of those things where he really only pulls it out when he absolutely needs to, or when he knows that he can hit the enemy point blank and end the fight. But that's not actually the end of its capabilities. Ricker also made a repeating crossbow attachment that can be applied to the arm. The crossbow portion is placed onto a fitting attachment on top of the forearm, and this helps Guts set up his shot and aim, and all he needs to do is turn the crank on the side of the crossbow in order to get it to fire. There is a stock of bolts that drop into place as each one is fired out, and the crank helps to pull back and release the string. This has been shown to be extremely useful on several occasions, notably when Guts was facing down a horde of trolls. The only disadvantage to this is the time it would take to apply it to the arm, but it seems like Guts is pretty capable of doing this in only a matter of seconds. As well, of course, there's only a finite amount of bolts that he has, so he has to get the job done as accurately as possible. There's also been two versions of this. Ricker upgraded it during the Conviction arc, basically decreasing its bulkiness and then adding a different style of magazine. But as far as the function, it's pretty much exactly the same. The only other thing to mention is once Guts gets the Berserker armor, the cannon mechanism can still be used through the armor. Basically, the armor opens up around the hand, allowing just enough space for the prosthetic hand to stick out, hinge down, and then fire the blast. The way it's drawn kind of makes it look like he's firing an energy blast out of his hand, which just fills my inner Dragon Ball fan with joy. But yeah, that's the rundown of the arm cannon and all its capabilities. To me, it's just as signature to Guts as the Dragon Slayer itself, and like I said, at times it's proved to be even more useful than the sword. It's a weapon that Guts still carries with him to this day, and if Guts ever meets up with Rickard again, I would love to see what kind of advancements Rickard would apply to the arm at this point, especially after teaming up with Salat, and if there's a supposed time skip. So before I end the video, I do just want to mention real quick that my merch store is live. The link is in the description below. I have a few different designs and styles that you can get on shirts, mugs, mouse pads, and anything like that you want to pick from, all the way from my logo to the MFZ, which the real ones know what that's all about. So go ahead and check it out. I'd really appreciate it if you wanted to order something, and if not, that's okay too. Also, don't forget to check out the link for the nosleepclub.net by one of my Patreon supporters. That would be really awesome as well. And other than that, guys, I just really appreciate your support, and I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you as always. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you in the next Monster Manual. See you later.